At number 10, Kenya Duke and Gary Owen. Imagine being betrayed by your partner after 20 years of marriage. Well, that's essentially what Kenya Duke went through after she found out that her husband Gary Owen had been cheating. Kenya Duke filed for divorce in March of this year, making allegations that her husband had been unfaithful in their marriage. After news broke of their divorce filing, Kenya took to her Instagram to imply that her husband had an affair with a woman from Dallas, someone who was mutual friends with Gary and reality TV star Claudia Jordan. In a now deleted Instagram post, Kenya sent a message to the other woman, whom she calls Dallas, Texas, saying, quote, "Dallas, Texas, I have your info. I'm going to deal with you in a minute. I'm a little busy now. You can have him, but you can't disrespect me and my kids in the process. At Gary Owen Comedy, let her know a storm is coming. You should know better. Married, not separated. Married." End quote. But Kenya wasn't done clapping back though, because she also followed this message up with one that was meant for her husband, where she said, quote, "All the energy you spent lying, acting, and creating a fake narrative for these women that you want to be me, you could have done it with a veggie burger and a glass of fake filtered water." End quote. I've said it in every single one of these videos, but being with a cheater just means you married an awful person. At number 9, Tiger Woods and Ellen Norgren. One of the most famous cheating scandals from pro golfer Tiger Woods in 2009 shattered his golden boy image and made him look like an awful person. It all started with a car crash. Tiger had crashed his Cadillac into a fire hydrant, and this incident made headlines, but it also drew attention to another headline that he had made days earlier after tabloids published a story alleging that Tiger was having an affair with a nightclub manager. Soon, one alleged affair turned into many more, as 6 women ended up coming forward, saying that they had also had intimate relationships with the golfer. His wife was understandably furious to find out about all of her husband's affairs, and their marriage was ruined after that. I'm sure she no doubt regretted ever marrying such an awful person in the first place. Before we continue talking about celebrities who made horrible marriage decisions, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video to help support the channel, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver. Actor and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, was caught in a very messy and high-profile cheating scandal that not only brought life into the world but ruined relationships and turned him into an awful person. In 1997, Arnold had an affair with the family's former housekeeper Patty, and she soon became pregnant with his son. At the very same time, Arnold's wife was also expecting their 4th kid. As if the universe wanted to make things extra chaotic for Arnold, both his wife and mistress ended up giving birth within 5 days of each other, though they wouldn't know about one another until about a decade later. But much like all secrets, they come out eventually, and Arnold ended up coming clean to his wife about his affair in 2007. This information wasn't immediately shared with the public until 2011, where things blew up. Arnold revealed his infidelity to the public after announcing that he and his wife Maria were separating, while also revealing the truth about his kid with his mistress. This wasn't fair to Arnold's wife nor his mistress, because this secret really blew up their lives and it affected their kids too, so Maria certainly married someone awful. At number 7, Woody Allen and Mia Farrow. Now, even though they weren't actually married, I felt like I had to include Woody Allen and Mia Farrow's relationship on here because of just how messed up it was, because Woody had an affair with Mia's adopted daughter, and that is seriously messed up. Mia's daughter Soon Yi was adopted when she was about 7 years old, and because Mia and Woody were together, Woody became a father figure to her. In 1992, when Soon Yi was 21, Mia discovered that her daughter and her partner Woody were in a secret relationship when she found intimate photos of Soon Yi. When Mia confronted Woody, he revealed that he and Soon Yi had been together for a short time and that he was in love with her. This subsequently ended their relationship, and Allen moved on with Soon Yi, later getting married in 1997. When reports came out about their marriage, this took a lot of people by surprise and made a lot of people angry. Woody was deemed a pretty horrible person for getting with Mia's daughter, and people haven't been able to stop thinking about how creepy and wrong that is. Woody and Soon Yi seem fine with it all, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Woody is an awful person for that. At number 6, David Letterman and Regina Lasco. When people are having an affair, they become very secretive as to not get caught, but in most cases, cheaters are almost always exposed so people can see what a horrible person this cheater is. This is what happened with David Letterman, as someone caught wind of his scandalous extramarital entanglements. In October 2009, on his late night talk show, David Letterman got serious with his audience, and he exposed his affair and revealed to the public that he had been intimately involved with someone from the studio. He also revealed that this revelation he is sharing was because someone was threatening to blackmail him for $2 million. He said that one day he found a mysterious package sitting in his car, and it included proof of his affair and a demand to be paid in order to keep things quiet. He said that if he didn't pay up, his blackmailer would reveal his secrets to the public, but rather than get swallowed up in the scandal, he faced it head on. Soon details of his affair started to come to light, detailing how he had slept with with women who worked for him at the studio. He was married at the time of this scandal and remains so to this day. The couple were able to work through things, but David is still an awful person for cheating on his spouse. At number 5, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Brangelina used to be one of the hottest celebrity matches in Hollywood, but ever since their split, it's been dark times for them, especially Brad. Once upon a time, they were seen as the industry's it couple, having spanned over 10 years and raising many kids together, but their divorce is where things get toxic and messy. When the couple announced that they were calling it quits in 2016, a lot of people wondered why, and one of the answers given was because of a dispute that Brad had allegedly had with Angelina about his substance abuse that resulted in Brad getting into an altercation with their oldest son Maddox. It was alleged that Brad was hurting others, and though an investigation cleared him of said allegations, Angie is now saying that she's prepared to share proof that Brad was in fact hurting his family. Recently, Angelina came forward saying that she's willing to offer her children's testimony against Brad as proof, and this could blow the doors off their relationship, giving us more information as to how toxic things really were. The fact that Angie claims to have proof of how bad things were shows how serious the situation was, and the fact that there's been so much drama and allegations against Brad, he might be considered to be an awful person. At number 4, Eminem and Kim Mathers. When asked about some toxic relationships they know of, a surprising amount of people reference Eminem and his ex-wife Kim Mathers because of their rocky past and marriage. Eminem met Kim in a youth home in 1988 when they were teenagers. From that point on, they stayed by each other's side even when living together at Eminem's mother's house. From that point until 1999, the two had a rocky and sort of toxic relationship, being an on and off again couple. In 1995, they had a daughter, and in 1999, the two ended up getting married. Their wedding took place on June 14th, 1999, just before Marshall's first major tour as his career was taking off. Kim said later on that this tour took the greatest toll on their marriage, saying, quote, "When Marshall's first tour started is when his ego just went poof, like he was God, that's what he thought. I was told that I should be grateful that he still talks to me. You know how many women throw themselves at him? And I just pretty much felt like a piece of crap." End quote. From then, their marriage went downhill as they were met with cheating scandals and mental health struggles. Eventually, they got a divorce in 2000, remarried in 2006, then divorced again, this time ending things for good. Because of how toxic things were between them, I guess it could be argued that Eminem was an awful partner. At number 3, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Now, having a list of celebrities who married awful people, you already know we're going to include Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's tumultuous relationship. A lot was uncovered during their massive court case last year that basically exposed Amber for having hurt Johnny while they were together and having been a horrible partner. We heard stories about Amber severing Johnny's finger with a glass bottle, many of the fights that they had, and even recordings of Amber antagonizing and hurting Johnny. There were instances of physical mistreatment as well as verbal and emotional as well, showing the world how toxic things really were behind closed doors. We found out about how Amber had been cheating on Johnny and how she allegedly went out of her way to outshine him in their industry, always being ready to make big headlines to overshadow him. Amber was no doubt one of the most awful people a celebrity could have married. At number 2, Kim Kardashian and Damon Thomas. Before Kim Kardashian was ever with Kanye West or Kris Humphries, she was married to a man named Damon Thomas. Kim and Damon eloped in 2000 when Kim was 19, but their marriage only lasted until 2004. Damon was 10 years older than her, and Kim accused him of, quote, poisoning her against her friends and family, and that he urged her to drop out of college. Kim also said that he would be violent towards her. On top of that, she's also said that Damon encouraged her to get plastic surgery so that she would look perfect. On the flip side of this, Damon alleged that Kim was only accusing him of all that in an attempt to get more money out of him in the divorce settlement. Either way, it sounds like Kim went through a lot of negativity with him, and she certainly married an awful person. And finally, at number 1, Kathy Griffin and Matthew Modine. In a relationship, when trust is broken, it's very hard to rebuild it. That's why a lot of relationships and marriages crumble, and this is part of the reason why Kathy Griffin divorced her husband Matthew Modine in 2005. Kathy opened up about what broke their marriage when talking to Larry King, when she said, quote, "My ex-husband, without my knowledge, was sneaking into my wallet when I was asleep in the mornings and taking my ATM cards of my own private accounts and withdrawing money. He admitted it and apologized, and we went to couples therapy. I really wanted to make it work. Unfortunately, we were not able to get beyond the trust issue." To steal from your partner is super sketchy and makes you a pretty awful person, because not only are you breaking trust and being dishonest, but you're taking something away from this person who worked really hard to acquire it. At number 10, Luan and Tom D'Agostino. Real Housewives of New York cast members, Luan and Tom D'Agostino, weren't the greatest pair, and everyone on set could have told you that. The toxicity ran deep with these two, but most of it stemmed from Tom. The other cast members actually warned Luan about Tom, saying that he was untrustworthy and that he was still in love with his ex, but even with that warning, Luan continued her romance and the two got married on New Year's Eve in 2016. At the end of the show's 8th season, it was revealed that one of the cast members had compromising photos of Tom kissing another woman just days after his and Luan's engagement party. This was a big red flag, as you could imagine. Soon it became apparent to the public that there were some serious problems in their relationship, as Luan and Tom got into a heated argument in public at a restaurant, which ended with Luan slapping Tom across the face. This heated relationship and Tom's constant cheating never subsided, as days before their divorce announcement, Tom was caught with yet another woman, but at that point, no one was really all that surprised. They were only married for 7 months, but those were the craziest 7 months of their lives. Luan regrets not listening to her castmates when they warned her about Tom, and she wishes she never married such an awful person. At number 9, Chad Johnson and Evelyn Lozada. Chad Johnson, also known as Chad Ochocinco, and ex-wife Evelyn Lozada were only married for 2 months, but so much happened in that short amount of time to permanently damage their relationship. Their relationship was intense and toxic, but it wasn't until after they got married that the world really learned just how awful it was. After dating for less than a year, the two were wed in a 4th of July ceremony in 2012, but just 2 months later there came an incident that broke them apart. Evelyn recalled finding a receipt in Chad's car for items that prompted the idea that Chad was cheating. The two fought and it all ended with Chad seriously injuring his wife. Chad was arrested for battery and DV, and they divorced shortly after the incident. Evelyn did an interview after the ordeal where she opened up about her feelings on the situation and how her life had been affected by it. After that, the couple split up and moved on with their lives. Before we carry on talking about some of the worst celebrity marriages, let me first ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also consider subscribing to the channel as well to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Elizabeth Taylor and Conrad Hilton. Elizabeth Taylor was one of Hollywood's most memorable icons, and surprisingly, she was married 8 times. She had many stories and encounters to recall throughout her life, but one of her shortest and most regrettable marriages she had was to hotel heir Conrad Hilton. The two were only married for 205 days before undoing their marriage after feeling neglected and hurt by her new husband. She was only 18 at the time of her marriage, but shortly after their wedding, Liz recalled how indifferent Conrad was towards her and how hurt she felt when he spoke to her using abusive language. Liz won her divorce on the grounds of mental cruelty. She refused alimony and took back her maiden name. It was almost like it never happened, and Liz wanted it that way. She knew that she deserved better in life and refused to put up with Conrad's horrible treatment of her. During their honeymoon, the two reportedly fought a lot and spent more time apart than they did together, so this was one of the first red flags that things just weren't right between them. She later told news sources that her idea of marriage was very naive, and so she regretted her decision. She lived a better life without him anyway. At number 7, Ike and Tina Turner. Tina Turner is an absolute legend, and to think that someone would ever want to hurt this talented woman is honestly so sad. Ike and Tina were a musical powerhouse, but they had a tumultuous and toxic relationship, leaving Tina regretting having ever known him. The two met while Tina was still a teenager, and they began performing together, starting their musical act. In 1962, the two got married and continued to perform together for the following decade. Though they were a successful duo, Ike had been severely hurting Tina behind the scenes, causing her so much pain that she didn't deserve and even prompting her to try to take her own life. After surviving her attempt, she made it her mission to leave Ike and begin a fresh start on her own. That's exactly what she did, and she became an even bigger star because of it. At number 6, Jennifer Lopez and Ojani Noah. Jennifer Lopez is no stranger to walking down the aisle. She's been married 3 times already, but the one relationship that was her worst was her first marriage to Ojani Noah. Their marriage lasted less than a year, but their tumultuous drama that came after their divorce has lasted much longer. It seems as though their relationship was destined to fail, as Ojani documented a lot of JLo's life behind the scenes, saving it for later for his own tea spill. Noah tried leaking videos from the couple's honeymoon after their divorce, showing the singer in an intimate setting, and in years since has been very outspoken about the singer, her career, and even had plans to release a tell-all book about his ex, followed by a movie deal. He really came into the relationship for his own personal gain, not for love, it seems. J-Lo actually ended up suing Ojani in 2009 for $10 million, citing that the videos he released as well as the book and movie deals violated an agreement that they had, which prohibited him from exposing the singer's life. Jennifer now looks back on this relationship with regret and doesn't even count her marriage to Ojani as valid because of how short it was. At number 5, John Finlay and Joe Exotic. We all know about Joe Exotic and his crazy relationships. After he gained a little fame with the success of the Tiger King documentary on Netflix last year, he and the others involved in his life became sort of public figures. To give us more insight on Joe, his ex-husband John Finlay recently came forward to talk about his life after the documentary brought him some minor popularity, and he exposed his former relationship with the now imprisoned Big Cat owner and exposed their marriage. John cannot express enough how regretful his marriage to Joe Exotic was. John said that this whole marriage was fake and toxic and that it was just for Joe's popularity, remarking that the wedding that was shown in the documentary, which showed him, Joe, and Travis Maldonado, was all, quote, basically a publicity stunt so Joe could get his own reality TV series, end quote. John spoke out saying that he still carries the pain from his time with Joe and is trying to forget his past by moving on with his new wife and making steps towards having the tattoos of Joe removed from his body. Joe went through a lot of trauma when he was with Joe, but luckily he's moving on from this dark time in his life. At number 4, Madonna and Guy Richie. Here's a marriage that was messy and toxic in every way possible. Madonna and Guy Richie divorced over 10 years ago, but their hatred towards one another still lives on, even if it's not as much as it used to be. The two were married for almost a decade, but their distaste for one another has lasted much longer, and because of this negativity, they no doubt regret ever being married in the first place. They both brought their own toxicity into the relationship, so I guess it could be said that they both married awful people because they were just as bad as each other. It seems like their marriage turned sour because Madonna was working so hard on her career, and so things became strained between them and the hostility began to grow. Coming out of the divorce, the worst of it started to come out. Guy made a lot of harsh comments about his marriage to Madonna, comparing his relationship with the singer to a soap opera, and also said that she was more concerned with her public image than she was with their marriage. Madonna fired back at her ex in the past, saying that she felt like she was incarcerated during their marriage and that Guy was nothing but a gold digger. There was just a lot of drama there, which really shows that they weren't a good match at all. At number 3, Wendy Williams and Kevin Hunter Sr. In 2019, talk show host Wendy Williams exposed her husband's serious affair with his massage therapist. Wendy's 20-year marriage to husband Kevin Hunter Sr. was dissolved after he was accused of not only cheating on Wendy but also fathering another woman's child. When news broke of Kevin's affair, it was also revealed that the mistress had given birth to their child, and upon discovering this information, Wendy called it quits right then and there. When speaking out about the whole dramatic affair, Wendy said, quote, "Look, my husband had a full baby with a woman he was involved with for 15 years. Infidelity is one thing, a full baby is a whole nother topic. A baby. I'm not changing Pampers. I want to be pampered. I learned from my mother how to make lemons into lemonade. What am I supposed to do? Stay in the house and cry all day?" End quote. She definitely regrets her marriage to Kevin just because of how serious his affair was. She married an awful person because not only did he end up cheating on Wendy, but he had a whole child with another woman. At that point, I'm sure you would wish that you had never met that person in the first place. At number 2, Alexis DeJoria, Sandra Bullock, and Jesse James. Once a cheater, always a cheater, right? That's normally how things go. Well, that's how drag racer Alexis DeJoria and Sandra Bullock feel about their ex-husband Jesse James. Jesse has earned the label of serial cheater after it was discovered that there was some serious infidelity plaguing not only his past relationship with Sandra Bullock, but also his most recent marriage to Alexis. Both Sandra and Alexis have been caught in a cheating scandal with Jesse, and his most recent scandal revealed that Jesse cheated on Alexis with at least 20 different women. According to some sources, it was revealed that Jesse snuck women into his family home with Alexis, as well as fly women out to Austin just to hook up with them in hotel rooms. It was also reported that Alexis tried her best to work things out with Jesse, but he just wasn't interested in making things work and healing their marriage. After all of this drama and broken trust, both Alexis and Sandra regret ever being married to Jesse because of how much disregard he seemed to have for both of their respective relationships. They both married an awful man, and they certainly deserved a better partner. And finally, at number 1, Mary-Kate Olsen and Olivier Sarkozy. After multiple attempts and a lot of drama, Mary-Kate Olsen filed for divorce from her husband Olivier Sarkozy in 2020. Mary-Kate had tried multiple times to file for divorce from her husband through the New York City courts last year, but because of the pandemic and stay-at-home orders in New York, she was denied twice before finally having her paperwork accepted in late May. She wanted to get out of that marriage as soon as possible because drama and toxicity made it unbearable for her to go on any longer. The two had been married since 2015 and apparently had a number of rough patches, most notably their stance on starting a family. Olivier, who already had children with his ex-wife, didn't want any more, though Mary-Kate did. And on top of that, apparently the tipping point in their relationship was when Olivier's ex-wife moved into the couple's home. Mary-Kate seemed to have had enough with their disagreements, and especially those which involved the ex-wife, so she decided to leave her husband. Following her desire to leave, her husband apparently kicked Mary-Kate out of their home, and she was close to losing all of her personal belongings. She later realized what an awful person she married, but I'm sure she's glad to be out of that relationship now. At number 10, Mike Tyson and Robin Givens. Mike Tyson's first marriage to wife Robin Givens was a rocky one. After 11 months of dating, the couple got married in 1988 in the wake of Robin's pregnancy, and afterwards Mike gave Robin and her mother around $10 million to get them settled. In Mike's memoir, he accused Robin of marrying him and locking him into a relationship for her own gain, as he alleged that her pregnancy and subsequent miscarriage were faked in order to get him to marry her. In the media, Mike was dragged through the mud. There were allegations of mistreatment on Mike's part, and the infamous Barbara Walters interview did not help his image. The interview was originally supposed to be a one-on-one profile of Mike, but before the interview, Robin allegedly pulled Barbara aside and told her that she didn't have the whole truth about them. Robin was then invited to join the interview, where she opened up about the things that she sustained while married to Mike and commenting on how she's been treated.
And I woke up and I said, I don't deserve this. I never had this in my life before, and I'm not going to tolerate this.
Soon after the interview, Robin filed for divorce from Mike and was later caught cheating on him with Brad Pitt. Mike most definitely regrets marrying Robin, as he said so in his book, and others refer to his marriage to Robin as, quote, the one that ruined him. People online still debate who was in the wrong in this relationship and who was worse, but do you have any thoughts on this? Let me know down in the comments. At number 9, Axl Rose and Erin Everly. The tumultuous relationship of Axl Rose and Erin Everly is one that is certainly unforgettable, but not necessarily in the best way. The two met while Axl, the frontman for Guns N' Roses, was still a struggling musician in the early days of his music career. Erin became one of the most important people in Axl's life, being the inspiration for the song Sweet Child of Mine. Despite being a good-looking match on the outside, they had a tumultuous relationship, but that didn't stop them from getting married at a Las Vegas ceremony in 1990. Axl allegedly forced Erin into the marriage after he threatened to harm himself if she didn't marry him, so things were already off to a pretty toxic start. The marriage was later annulled in 1991, just 9 months after getting married, and in 94, Erin filed a civil lawsuit against Axl, where she alleged that she was mistreated by her then husband. Since the split, Erin has auctioned off memorabilia that she had kept from her days with Axl in the band, looking to rid herself of any trace of her old ties with them, as she's carried a lot of that pain with her for so long. From what she said about her marriage to Axl, things were certainly bad, and he wasn't the best person to be married to by a long shot. Before we carry on talking about some of these horrible celebrity marriages, why not subscribe to see more videos like this one, and leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. At number 8, Prince Charles and Princess Diana. Prince Charles and Princess Diana were one of the most beloved celebrity couples. The whole world loved them. Well, they loved Diana more than anything. She was considered to be the people's princess, but behind closed doors she was living a hard life, neglected by her husband. She was always second best in Charles' eyes, having never gotten over his infatuation for Camilla Parker Bowles. Charles and Diana got married in 1981 and had 2 kids together, but because of Charles' extramarital affairs and Diana's unhappiness in the relationship, they got divorced in 1996. Diana regretted marrying Charles because she always knew that there would always be 3 people in the marriage: her, Charles, and Camilla. She deserved so much better, but she got Charles' cold shoulder instead. She was loved by the world, and eventually, after she was freed from the royal family, that became enough. Now, I'm not saying that Charles is an awful person himself, but their whole marriage just wasn't very positive, and Diana got into a pretty unfortunate situation when she married the prince. At number 7, Audrina Patridge and Corey Bowen. The Hill star Audrina Patridge and BMX athlete Corey Bowen had a toxic and tumultuous relationship that was really just negative in every sense of the word. After about 7 years of dating, the couple got engaged in November of 2015 and were soon married by the following year after welcoming their daughter Kira into the world. By 2018, they were done and the legal battle began. Audrina alleged that Corey was violent towards her. Leading up to their official divorce, Audrina had been granted a restraining order preventing Corey from being within 100 feet of his wife and daughter. Audrina claimed that Corey had been very aggressive towards her on multiple occasions and that she just couldn't take it anymore. Luckily, she was able to get out of that horrible relationship and probably regrets getting into it in the first place. Needless to say, this was an awful marriage through and through. At number 6, Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio. When Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio got married, it was a pretty big deal. The actress and the athlete looked like a beautiful match who were deeply in love, having met and married within a relatively short amount of time. They looked to be head over heels for each other, but some believe that their marriage was rushed because it all took place within the time that they had between work engagements. They got married in a quiet City Hall ceremony in January 1954 and turned a work trip to Japan into their honeymoon, but just 9 months later, that spark had faded and their relationship crumbled apart. Joe allegedly wanted a stay-at-home wife, but because Marilyn was at the height of her career, she wouldn't agree to that and wanted to keep working. Joe also apparently had a hard time coming to terms with his wife's image, and apparently her famous subway grate scene was the last straw. Their marriage ended with Marilyn citing mental cruelty as one of the reasons behind their divorce. She didn't like how her husband didn't want to support her, and that's just not what she needed in her life then. In a relationship, you need to be able to support your partner no matter what, so clearly this wasn't a very good match. At number 5, Eddie Murphy and Tracy Edmonds. Comedian Eddie Murphy has had his quarrels with love. After a number of failed relationships, he thought he found the one when he met producer Tracy Edmonds. They dated for a few months before getting engaged, eventually leading to a lavish $500,000 wedding in Bora Bora. You know, things are getting serious when you take it all the way to a tiny island in the middle of the ocean. Their wedding, which was attended by 25 people, wasn't technically legally binding, but they had planned to go through with the whole process upon getting back to the United States after their ceremony, but unfortunately that never ended up happening. It's said that things started to go downhill quite quickly after the ceremony, as people reported Eddie being standoffish and not wanting to spend time with his new bride. Other guests who stayed on the island after the ceremony reported that they could hear Eddie and Tracy yelling at each other, fighting, which ended with Tracy in tears. Just 2 weeks after the wedding, they decided that marriage just wasn't for them and they called it quits. Even though they weren't technically legally married, their marriage was still awful, and they were equally as bad for each other. Maybe it's for the best that things didn't work out. At number 4, Lena Waithe and Alana Mayo. Screenwriter Lena Waithe and her ex-wife Alana Mayo surprised fans when they announced that they had gotten married in a private and secret ceremony that was a spur-of-the-moment decision, but just 2 months later they announced their separation. In a joint statement to their supporters, the couple announced that they were splitting up, and so as fans do, they speculated as to why they ended their relationship so quickly. Rumors that Lena had been unfaithful started swirling, and some sources even said that their relationship had been rocky even before the couple got married. According to some, Lena and Alana's wedding came after multiple cases of cheating, and that even after their wedding, Lena was still buying expensive gifts for other women. Allegedly, this was all too much for Alana to handle, and so they called it quits. Cheating in a relationship is always a recipe for disaster, and marrying a cheater is just so unfortunate, but at least you get to move on to bigger and better things. At number 3, Cardi B and Offset. Cardi and Offset have had a rocky relationship, and many people say that they are both just awful for each other. Because of all the drama that these two have had in the past during their marriage, and the fact that they almost got divorced, I think it's safe to say that things have been bad before, and it's honestly kind of debatable whether things are actually okay now or not. Though they have been married for over 3 years and have kids together, apparently that hasn't stopped Offset from seeking comfort elsewhere. As I mentioned, Cardi even filed for divorce from Offset in 2020 because of his infidelity, though they later got back together after he spoiled her for her birthday, buying her a $300,000 car and dedicating a billboard to her. Offset has had a number of cheating scandals over the course of his relationship with Cardi. In 2018, about a year after the couple got married in secret, Offset faced rumors that he had cheated on Cardi and even made an adult film with another woman. Back in 2020, he faced more cheating allegations when it was rumored that he even fathered a child during this affair. A lot of people say that this is a toxic relationship, but they just keep coming back to each other, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see how things play out, I guess. At number 2, J-Lo and Alex Rodriguez. Now, even though they weren't technically married, Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez still had the intention of doing so. That is, until things got messy and Alex was caught in a cheating scandal. Cheating scandals aren't anything new for the baseball player, having been accused of infidelity in the past, but this new scandal might have been the one where J-Lo said enough is enough and called off the wedding. In January of this year, Alex is accused of cheating on J-Lo with reality TV star Madison LaCroix. This rumor started circulating after LaCroix was accused of having an alleged affair with a former MLB player. And this was brought up during a taping of a reality reunion show. Shortly after the taping aired, these allegations escalated, with Madison admitting to having been in contact with A-Rod. She insisted that their communications were innocent, saying that they never met up and never had any physical contact, saying, quote, "He's never physically cheated with his fiancée with me." The only solid proof that we have of A-Rod being in contact with Madison comes from a source close to Alex, who told sources that Alex had slid into Madison's DMs and that they had exchanged some, quote, thirsty photos. Not too long after this all went down, A-Rod and J-Lo announced that they were breaking up and called off their engagement. Cheaters are awful. Period. And finally, at number 1, Jana Kramer and Mike Cosson. I stand by the saying, once a cheater, always a cheater, and so do a lot of people who've been in failed relationships. Once your partner does you wrong once, it takes a lot to regain that trust, and sometimes after a bond is broken. This seems to have been the case with football player Mike Cosson and his wife, singer and actress Jana Kramer. The couple faced a cheating scandal in 2016, and after that they spent the next few years trying to work on their marriage, trying to reconcile after this drama affected them so greatly, but the couple recently called it quits on their marriage when Jana took to social media in late April to announce their divorce. Her message to the public read, quote, "It's time. I try to make sense of a reality I never wanted to believe could be possible again. Those words have now become reality. I've fought, y'all. I've loved hard. I've forgiven. I put the work in. I've given everything I have, and now I have nothing else to give." The couple briefly split following the cheating scandal I mentioned before, where Mike's secrets were exposed, and though they were able to make amends and try to work on regaining their bond, things just weren't meant to work out in the long term, it seems. In her filings, Jana also cited causes and reasons for their divorce, saying that, quote, "Inappropriate marital conduct, irreconcilable differences, and adultery were the reasons behind their failed marriage." In the end, people came to see that Jana married a pretty awful person, but the fact that they're free from each other is for the best, so now they can move on and grow from this. At number 10, Melinda Gates and Bill Gates. Earlier this year, Bill and Melinda Gates had been in and out of the news regarding their divorce, ending their marriage of nearly 30 years. After they announced that they were separating, more and more news started to come out about Bill, which shows that Melinda wasn't always happy and probably regretted her marriage to him at times. The moment where she really wanted to leave, though, was when her husband began a friendship and close bond with Jeffrey Epstein, turning him into a pretty horrible person. Information has come out suggesting that Melinda had made the decision to begin the divorcing process in 2019 after a report by the New York Times had linked Bill and Jeffrey, showing that she just didn't want to be with such a horrible person anymore. Melinda had previously warned Bill about the billionaire when they first met back in 2013, however, despite her forewarnings, Bill allegedly continued to meet with Epstein, later leading him to getting exposed for their relationship when Epstein was arrested in 2019. Melinda seemingly wanted out of her marriage as soon as she realized that Bill was in too deep with Epstein. After all this came out, you can really start to see what Melinda was dealing with for all those years, and that she had been dealing with an unhappy marriage for quite a while. At number 9, Jude Law and Sienna Miller. Cheaters are awful people, so I guess this next actor falls under that category. Actor Jude Law was involved in a cheating scandal in the early 2000s that destroyed his potential marriage to Sienna Miller and left a lot of people so surprised. After getting engaged in 2004, Jude Law was exposed for cheating on his fiancée with a woman named Daisy Wright. In 2006, Daisy, the nanny for Jude's children, came forward about how she and Jude were allegedly having an affair. She ended up spilling the beans on their whole relationship in an interview she did with the Sunday Mirror, and went in depth about her affair with the actor, sharing every scandalous detail. A lot of people were shocked to hear about this whole affair, but eventually Jude came clean to the public about everything and issued an apology to Sienna. Now, even though they weren't married yet, it was a plan to do so, so it counts, right? Jude ruined his potential future marriage because he decided to cheat, so that's pretty unfortunate that their marriage ended before it even began. Before we carry on talking about some of the horrible people that some celebrities have married, why not take a brief moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Beyonce and JayZ. Even the biggest celebrity couples have their problems, and sometimes they can be fixed. Take Beyonce and JayZ for example. A lot of people think that Beyonce married an awful person for what JayZ has put her through, especially with their troubles with infidelity. It all started when Solange and JayZ got into that big elevator fight at the Met. There was a lot of drama surrounding that fight, but no one really knew what provoked it until word came out saying that it was because JayZ had cheated. Though no one really acknowledged or spoke out about this apparent infidelity, things got worse when Beyonce low-key exposed her husband's infidelity on her album Lemonade, where she made several subtle and not so subtle comments about her husband's alleged affair. JayZ had to respond with his music, where he apologized to his wife for his infidelity and addressed some of their relationship issues. After all of this drama both in and out of the music world, they were able to seek out couples therapy to rebuild their relationship, but for a while there, things looked pretty bad and it looked like Beyonce may have made a mistake by marrying JayZ. At number 7, Kim K and Kanye West. Kanye has been through a lot over the last year or so. He lost the presidential race and now he's lost his marriage, and Kim's moved on with Pete Davidson of all people. Kim and Kanye's relationship looked like it had been on its last leg for a while, especially after all of the drama between Kanye and the Kardashians following his presidential campaign rant and his Twitter meltdowns. Kanye has even said that he knows he didn't do enough to make their relationship survive. There was, however, a lot more going on behind the scenes that we didn't quite know about. Apparently, there came a point where things got too complicated and too toxic to handle. Kim talked about some of the rocky things that happened with her and Kanye towards the end, like how he spent much of his time away from his family in Wyoming and how their communication was at an all-time low. There were also reports that Kim and Kanye were fighting a lot, and there was also a rumor that Kanye had tried to sleep with another woman while still married to Kim. Things were clearly just very toxic and weren't meant to work out in the long run, so it could be argued that maybe Kim shouldn't have married Kanye. At number 6, Catherine Pais and Austin McBroom. Basketball player turned YouTube family vlogger Austin McBroom has been in countless scandals over the years, and the amount of times he's been accused of cheating on his wife Catherine is just too much to count. He's no doubt an awful person for being unfaithful to his partner, and though he continues to deny each accusation, they still keep coming. One of the latest scandals he faced alleged that not only did he have a secret relationship with another woman, but that he has a secret daughter too. A TikTok user took to the platform to make the allegation that Austin was the secret father of her child and that Austin's wife paid the other woman to terminate her pregnancy. This was mostly just speculation, but after someone else came forward claiming to work at the daycare where Austin's secret daughter attends, saying that Austin is listed in the child's paperwork as the legitimate father, people were starting to wonder if this is actually true. Like I said before, these cheating allegations really aren't anything new for Austin, so no one knows what to think anymore. But one thing is for certain, and that is Catherine married a pretty awful guy. At number 5, LaToya Luckett and Tamikis Walker. Former Destiny's Child member LaToya Luckett and ex-husband Tamikis Walker had a really rocky falling out, and it could be said that she married an awful person. The R&B singer announced earlier this year that she and her husband were getting a divorce following a cheating scandal that started up last year. In the fall of 2020, footage was leaked which allegedly showed Tommy in a hotel room with another woman. The video showed a man who looked like Tommy asleep in the room, and another video alleged that some kind of indiscretion had taken place that night. The evidence to support the allegations saying that this is in fact Tamikis in the video is that the man in the footage has a very similar tattoo of the name Ruby on his leg. It seems as though this was all the evidence that was needed for LaToya to want to call it quits and leave her husband. Tamikis denies all cheating allegations, blaming, quote, outside forces on the downfall of his marriage, but judging by what happened, I think it's a case of cheaters being horrible people. At number 4 was Khalifa and Amber Rose. Wiz Khalifa and Amber Rose were married for some time after tying the knot in 2013, but after 14 months of marriage and a lot of toxicity, they divorced, and it was a pretty nasty breakup. There were allegations of cheating, and the custody of their son was also up for debate. Years later, Amber Rose opened up about her brief marriage to Wiz Khalifa and the toxicity around it, and spoke out about her regrets concerning their marriage. She once said how she regretted getting married when she did because they didn't give themselves enough time to grow in their relationship, and that this was one of the things that contributed to the hostility. Amber also expressed that she felt as though they would have had a more successful marriage if they got married later in life, calling their wedding at the time a mistake. Now, I'm going to argue that maybe they were just awful people for each other because their whole situation was just one big mess, but what do you guys think? At number 3, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. Before Brangelina took over Hollywood, Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were a thing. Jennifer and Brad's romance story began in the 90s, meeting for the first time in 1994, but going on their first date in 98. After 2 years of dating, the wedding of the year took place in 2000 on a bluff in Malibu. Things were okay until Angelina came into the picture after she and Brad met while working on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Fast forward a little bit to 2005 and Bennifer was over. They filed for divorce, making room for Brangelina. It was a whirlwind breakup because of the cheating scandals and rumors, as it was said that Brad cheated on Jen with Angie and she became the other woman of sorts. Even as things died down over the years, tabloids would still bring up this drama from time to time, almost making it seem as though things weren't exactly over for this unfortunate love triangle. I guess you could say that Jen married an awful person for what Brad put her through. At number 2, Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. Hurting others is always negative, and going out of your way to put someone down can make you an awful person. No one deserves to be treated poorly, and no one should support that kind of behavior. This is what makes Chrissy Teigen such an awful person, and since John Legend married her, this couple fits this list. This year, Chrissy was exposed for her dark side. She faced backlash for resurfaced tweets and DMs directed at Courtney Stodden from back in the day. These messages were really hurtful and mean, and they really hurt Courtney, as they've come out saying that these messages affected them greatly when they were younger. When Chrissy got canceled, she didn't handle it well and didn't really take accountability for her actions and made the backlash towards her an even bigger deal, playing the victim in this whole situation. This behavior isn't something positive, and I couldn't imagine being married to someone so negative. And finally, at number 1, Marilyn Manson and Lindsay Usage. A huge scandal that happened this year came from singer Marilyn Manson, and it shocked a lot of people as it exposed all the terrible things that he's done to past partners. It all started when his ex-partner, actress Evan Rachel Wood, came forward in an Instagram post to name Manson as someone who had harmed her for a long time. In her statement, Evan cited how manipulative Marilyn was, accusing him of brainwashing her, and told her fans about how Manson caused her so much mental, physical, and emotional pain. This caused more people to come forward later on, including Game of Thrones actress Esme Bianco, who came forward with some of the horrible encounters she had with Manson. Knowing all of this, Marilyn could certainly be called an awful person, and once again, I couldn't imagine being married to this person after knowing all of this. At number 10, Iggy Azalea and Nick Young. When you've been unfaithful to your partner, it pretty much makes you an awful person, and you're bound to get exposed for it, especially if you're a celebrity. No one really gets away with cheating, especially these days because of our presence on social media, making things difficult to hide. Back in 2016, basketball player Nick Young was exposed by one of his teammates for having cheated on his then fiance, Iggy Azalea. D'Angelo Russell, Nick's teammate, had recorded Nick talking about how he had cheated on Iggy, and the footage was leaked to the internet. This caused Iggy to postpone their wedding, but things ultimately ended a few months later after Iggy caught Nick on her security cameras bringing in other women into their house when she wasn't there. This was the last straw for Iggy, but it also didn't help Nick's case after it was alleged that he had gotten his ex pregnant again while still in a relationship with Iggy. It certainly is a good thing that they didn't end up getting married. At number 9, Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson. At this point, knowing that Tristan Thompson is a pretty awful partner really isn't anything new. Now, I know that Khloe and Tristan aren't actually married, but they're pretty close, and I mean, we can't talk about awful partners without discussing their toxic relationship. All of their relationship drama started back in 2018, and we're still seeing the two of them making headlines together in 2021, so I mean, they're kind of perfect for this list. In April 2018, just shortly before their daughter True was born, photos of Tristan appearing to cheat were leaked, and obviously this wasn't good, but things got even worse when TMZ leaked footage from 2017, which showed Tristan allegedly kissing women at a club. Things mostly died down after their daughter was born, but later in 2019, more cheating allegations came out detailing how he had been cheating on Khloe again, this time with their longtime family friend Jordyn Woods. This ended them for good, or so we thought. Now in 2021, people are still talking about them, and honestly I don't know what's going on with them anymore. Before we carry on talking about some of the worst celebrity couples and what went wrong, why not leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this this one. At number 8, Mariah Carey and Tommy Mottola. In September 2020, singer Mariah Carey revealed in her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, that she had once been unfaithful to her first husband. In her book, Mariah wrote about how during her first marriage to music executive Tommy Mottola, she cheated on him with baseball star Derek Jeter. Mariah talked about how she felt trapped in her marriage because of the age difference and because her husband was controlling. Now, cheating isn't necessarily excusable, but after opening up about how Tommy treated her, you can kind of see why she wanted to escape and find someone new. Tommy's treatment of Mariah prompted her to seek out a temporary escape, and after meeting Derek at a dinner party in 1997, she bonded with him. Mariah also revealed that soon she and Derek started talking, leading to them to having a quote, warm, slow, intoxicating kiss on Derek's roof. End quote. The singer said that after that kiss they never went any further because she was still married, saying quote, neither of us wanted to cheapen our romance by cheating on my marriage. End quote. Both Mariah and Tommy were awful partners to each other. At number 7, Dominic West and Catherine Fitzgerald. In the fall of 2020, actor Dominic West shocked a lot of people, including his wife, when photos surfaced online of him looking to be getting pretty close with actress Lily James. The leaked images showed the actor ringless on an outing, getting cozy with his co-star in Rome. He was spotted kissing and caressing the actress, and there were sources claiming that he and Lily had shared a hotel room as well. When reports of this alleged affair came out, a source close to Dominic's wife, Catherine, said that she was quote, devastated and heartbroken, going on to say that she believed that she and her husband had a good marriage. Clearly, there was something wrong there. This scandal, however, took an interesting turn just days after the story first broke, as Dominic and his wife were spotted together kissing in front of paparazzi, and the couple even released a handwritten note to news outlets saying quote, our marriage is strong and we're very much still together, end quote. Now, not only did Dominic cheat, but Catherine still took him back after all that. You cannot catch me forgiving someone like that, especially after it became public. Dominic was certainly an awful person for putting his wife through all of that. At number 6, Jesse Metcalfe and Cara Santana. In 2020, Desperate Housewives actor Jesse Metcalfe and actress Cara Santana called it quits after a 10-year-long relationship, and things were pretty messy. After announcing their breakup publicly in the days following, they were hit with a cheating scandal as cheating allegations came out after Jesse was seen with another woman just days before news broke of the couple's separation. On top of that, paparazzi images showed Jesse with a blonde woman who he appeared to have his arm around and kissing her cheek. Basically, he was caught red-handed. To make matters worse, the actor was allegedly seen with another woman whom he was getting close to. Everything happened so fast that Cara told sources that she felt totally blindsided by the whole affair and that she thought everything was fine between them. To make matters worse for Cara, she apparently didn't know that they were broken up until she saw it in the news. It's alleged that there was no face-to-face breakup and that she found out when the rest of the public did too. They were set to get married in the near future, so you know, technically she didn't marry this awful partner, but she almost did, and it would have been even worse to find out about all of this infidelity after tying the knot. At number 5, Kevin Hart and Aniko Hart. Kevin Hart had a lot of making up to do after his explosive cheating scandal made him look like an awful person. Kevin was caught cheating on his wife Aniko Parrish after someone came forward trying to extort the comedian for $10 million in exchange for not releasing footage which showed him being unfaithful to his wife. Since he had essentially been caught, he owned up to his actions and issued a public apology to Aniko on his Instagram where he said quote, I made a bad error in judgment and put myself in an environment where only bad things can happen, and they did. At the end of the day, I gotta do better, but I'm also not going to allow a person to have financial gain off my mistakes, and in this particular situation, that's what was attempted, end quote. Some people pointed out that his apology didn't really include much accountability for his actions, but it was enough to keep Kevin and Aniko together, even though the trust in their relationship was seriously broken. They welcomed their first child together shortly after the scandal happened, and they continued to support one another, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Aniko is with a pretty awful partner. At number 4, Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. After finding herself in a bit of a summer scandal, Jada Pinkett Smith was the center of attention for a little while last year after her entanglement with singer August Alsina went public. Jada faced some backlash for her relationship with the singer for a few reasons, one of which obviously being her relationship with Will Smith. When news broke of Jada's relationship with August, people immediately thought that she had been cheating on Will and that this news was going to blow up in his face. Many fans sent their support to Will because it looked like he had been facing a huge cheating scandal, but after discussing it on their Facebook watch show, Red Table Talk, they revealed that the two of them had separated a few years ago and that they were more so in an open relationship. Regardless, people still believed that Jada was pretty awful because Will looked to be a little hurt by her entanglement with August. But what do you think? Was it considered cheating? And do you think Jada is an awful person for doing this? At number 3, Clark Gable. Old Hollywood has a whole lot of mystery and scandal hidden behind a bright, shiny Hollywood sign. There was some dark stuff that went down back then, and it's only now that people are actually talking about it. One scandal that people were fascinated with was about actor Clark Gable and his secret daughter. While starring in the 1935 film The Call of the Wind alongside actress Loretta Young, Clark was involved in an extramarital affair with his co-star, and their affair ended with them producing a daughter. Not only did he become an awful person for having an affair and bringing another life into the world through it, but they also set that kid up for a life full of drama because they tried to cover it all up. Because a scandal like this would have meant the end of their careers, they tried to cover it up, but obviously we still found out. Loretta tried to conceal her pregnancy as best she could, even coming up with an elaborate plan to go on holiday as soon as her bump became too difficult to hide. She ended up having the baby and gave her up for adoption. Despite their effort to cover it all up, they were eventually exposed because the baby, whom they named Judith, inherited Clark's signature ears. All of this just made Clark look pretty bad, and honestly I feel bad for his spouse, but then again, Clark had a history of cheating, so this wasn't the first time he was seen in a bad light. At number 2, Anne Hathaway. Now, even though they didn't end up getting married, they were still pretty close to it, and it's probably for the best that things ended when they did, because Anne Hathaway nearly married a pretty horrible person. The actress was once in a 4-year relationship with Italian businessman Raffaello Fallori, and they were reportedly close to getting married. That is until things came crashing down when it was discovered that Raffaello was involved in money laundering. He was arrested in 2008, and as you can imagine, the relationship stopped right then and there, and it's a good thing that she didn't stick around. And finally, at number 1, Mario Lopez and Ali Laundrie. Turns out that perhaps Mario Lopez isn't as nice as we may have thought, because apparently he cheated on his soon-to-be wife Ali Laundrie just days before their wedding. Mario confessed to Howard Stern in 2011 that back in 2004 he had cheated on Ali during his bachelor party. That's a pretty awful thing to do. I mean, just days before tying the knot too. Understandably, their marriage didn't last long at all, and they got it annulled just 2 weeks after getting married. To make matters worse though, Mario wrote about the experience in his memoir where he revealed that he didn't even love Ali, saying, quote, "Lightning hit me with the truth. I wasn't in love, but I walked down the aisle anyway."
Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is Sophia Bush. One Tree Hill fans were absolutely thrilled when she got married to her former co-star Chad Michael Murray. They were on-screen lovers, so when they began dating in real life too, fans thought it would be like the perfect love story that we all hoped for, like me especially. They ended up getting married at a very young age, Sophia being 22 and Chad being 23 at the time. But they ended up separating just 5 months after getting married. Their split was a big dramatic scandal because reports claimed that Chad had cheated on her with Paris Hilton while they were filming the horror movie House of Wax. Sophia has talked about it in recent years and said they were young and had no business getting married in the first place. She also said she felt a lot of pressure from production for them to get married. She said the producers often pushed them to be together for the sake of the show, and a big reason why she went through with the marriage was because she felt that she would let the producers down, and also the fans. It was a short-lived marriage, but the worst part was they had to work on the show together for years after they got divorced. That'd be so awkward. Up next, number 9, we have Kim Kardashian and Kris Humphrey. It's hard to say which one of them regretted the marriage more, so I'm gonna put both of them because it seems pretty mutual. Their relationship and wedding was highly documented on her reality show Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Their relationship moved very quickly. They were only publicly together for a few months before he proposed, and then engaged for just 90 days before they tied the knot. During the time, many people thought it was just for the reality show and the fact that they were getting their own special event called Kim's Fairy Tale Wedding, a Kardashian event. Their wedding aired and ratings were very high, obviously. It earned them 4.4 million viewers the first night and then 4 million the second night. But Kim and Chris had their issues, which we saw on the TV show, if you watched it. After just 72 hours of marriage, Kim filed for divorce for irreconcilable differences and listed the separation date as the date that she filed it. Like, she wanted it to immediately be put in place. She later admitted that yes, she loved Chris, but that she got caught up in everything else that came with it, like the media and the money. Chris later responded to her legal papers and claimed that their 72-hour marriage was based on fraud and that Kim was trying to boost the ratings for their family TV show at the time. Their divorce was finalized in 2013, 2 years after she filed it. It was a very long legal battle, to say the least. Sliding into number 8, we got Miley Cyrus. There is no denying the love between Miley and her ex-husband, Liam Hemsworth. They were actually together for over a decade on and off. They were engaged twice before tying the knot officially back in December of 2018. Maybe regret isn't the right word when it comes to their marriage, but Miley opened up about the reasoning for their divorce and revealed that she got married for the wrong reasons. She loved him and said that she still does and always will, but admitted that their marriage was a distraction. Their decision to get married came after they tragically lost their home in the Malibu wildfires. She explained that she lost everything inside her home and that she filled that void with their relationship. She told Howard Stern, I quote, "I lost everything. I just clung to what I had left of that house, which was me and him." But after getting married, she quickly realized that there was just too much conflict in their relationship and that it was not what they wanted. They got divorced officially just 7 months after being married, and she released a song called What the F Do I Know? And one of the lyrics is, I quote, "Maybe getting married just to cause a distraction," which just confirmed the things that she said in her interview. Moving on to number 7, we have Britney Spears. Maybe you forgot the time that she got married to a childhood friend of hers, Jason Alexander. Back in 2004, the two of them got married in Las Vegas and set the record for one of the shortest marriages in history. Worse than Kim and Chris. They were married for just 55 hours before Britney called it off and filed for an annulment. It all began and ended on New Year's in 2004 when she invited him to Las Vegas to celebrate the new year. Jason spoke about their relationship in 2012 and revealed that they had been childhood friends for many years, but that they were friends with benefits as they got older. So how did that turn into marriage? He said that they were very intoxicated when they jokingly said that they should get married that night. But Jason did have feelings for her behind closed doors, and so he went with it because he liked her. He said, "I went with my feelings. I was in love with her. I feel like she felt the same way." However, Britney did not feel the same way, and her annulment papers said, lacked understanding of her actions to the extent that she was incapable of agreeing to the marriage. Jason admitted that he was actually hurt by her words and her decision to end the marriage so quickly. Rolling into number 6, we have Russell Brand. In more recent interviews, Katy Perry and Russell have said that they do not regret their marriage with one another. But it was not always this way. They got married in 2010, which lasted 14 months before they called it quits. Well, him. When they first split, Russell did not have very nice things to say about her or their relationship, and his opinion stayed that way for a few years. In his 2015 documentary called Brand, A Second Coming, he said their short-lived marriage ended because of fame and said that she was the kind of person that he hated. He said, "I'm associated with the very thing I detest. Vapid, vacuous, plastic, constructed, mindless celebrity." Quite the thing to say about someone that you once loved. But his opinion and view on the marriage has softened up in the last 5 years. He now says that he looks at their experience more fondly now and said that he feels warm towards her, calling her an extraordinary woman. As for Katy, she has always been firm on the fact that she does not regret getting married to him and claims to have loved him very much. And if you haven't heard this story, it was actually Russell's decision to end the marriage. He actually texted her that he wanted a divorce on December 31st, 2011. A text message. Halfway through our list at number 5, we have Drew Barrymore. The actress has been in the Hollywood spotlight since a very young age, and at 19 years old, she jumped into a marriage with Jeremy Thomas, who was 31 years old at the time. Their marriage is also one of the shortest marriages in history, only lasting a couple of days. Drew has openly talked about the marriage and divorce and said, "I realized my mistake on the day that I married him. It wasn't because she didn't love him though. Their relationship moved very quickly and she was also very young. Just 6 months into dating, they decided to get married very spontaneously. They were partying with a group of friends at 4 a.m. when the conversation came up that they should get married because they were so in love at the time. Jeremy arranged a 24-hour minister to perform the ceremony at 5:30 a.m. that same morning. They changed their outfits quickly and had their little ceremony on the roof of a bar. The next day, Drew actually had to leave to film Boy on the Side, and they were supposed to go to Hawaii for their honeymoon afterwards, after she was done filming. Jeremy revealed that Drew ended up going to Hawaii alone and then called him while she was there and ended things. Yikes. In the number 4 spot is Chris Judd. The dancer was actually married to Jennifer Lopez back in 2001, but revealed why it did not last very long. The two of them fell in love while on set of her video Love Don't Cost a Thing back in 2001. They moved very quickly also, getting married just 1 month of being engaged. Their marriage lasted 9 months and not longer than that because of the famous lifestyle. He explained what tore them apart and said that it was tough to be in that kind of limelight. He said, "Your privacy is breached. You're no longer a normal person. Our wedding was a circus. I think several people got arrested trying to climb up a mountain trying to sneak in." The famous lifestyle of hers just bothered him, but when asking why they split, he simply says that it just did not work out. But things got a bit sticky in 2006 when JLo sued him, claiming that he demanded $5 million to keep him from publishing a book containing private details about her and their past relationship. So it might be safe to say that she has some regrets too. Up next, number 3, we have Jennifer Esposito. She was married to Bradley Cooper for just 4 months back in 2007 and addressed details of their split in her 2014 book called Jennifer's Way. The actress talked about her failed marriage and threw plenty of shade at her ex. In her book, she talked about their relationship and said she ignored all the red flags that were there from the beginning, which we often do. She said he was funny, smart, cocky, arrogant, and a master manipulator. I didn't necessarily find him that attractive, but I figured that I could enjoy his sense of humor and nonsense for a while. Yikes. Bradley Cooper's hot, just saying. They were only dating for months before they got engaged and then tied the knots just 2 months later. 4 months after becoming husband and wife, she filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. It seemed like she regretted it right away because in her book, she described the red flags as storming in like a marching band. Sniping the number 2 spot is Mario Lopez and Ali Landry. I'm not sure who regrets it more. Maybe Mario because he cheated on her days before their wedding, or Ali because he cheated on her days before their wedding. They were only married for 2 weeks before they called it quits because rumors had surfaced that he had cheated on her. In his memoir titled Just Between Us, he admitted to cheating on her at his bachelor party and said that's what made him realize he wasn't in love with her like he thought he was. He said he went on to marry her because he felt that it was too late at the time to split up at that point. Ali didn't know about the infidelity before they got married and said she believed him when he lied and said that he did not cheat. Mario also went into details in his book about how Ali apparently changed into an image-obsessed model and pressured him into proposing to her. So it seems like the wedding wasn't something that he ever really wanted. So... In our number 1 spot, with not much surprise, is Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Maybe they didn't regret it in the beginning, but I guarantee they are regretting it now more than ever. You might argue which one of them regrets it more based on whose side of the story you believe, but their divorce has to be one of the worst ones in Hollywood history. It led to a highly documented lawsuit that has been damaging to both of their careers and probably their bank accounts. They first met back in 2009 on the set of The Rum Diary, but did not start dating until 2012. In 2014, Amber was spotted wearing an engagement ring, and then things seemed to be going very good for them at that time. The following year, they got married in a private ceremony at their home in LA, but the marriage only lasted 1 year. In 2016, Amber filed for divorce and accused him of physical abuse. She filed a temporary restraining order against him, and they settled a $7 million settlement outside of court. That could have been the end to everything, as the divorce was finalized in 2017, but here we are 3 years later. I'm not gonna get into the details of this current lawsuit because I think we can all understand why they both have regrets about their marriage for their own reasons. Starting us off at number 10, we have Pamela Anderson. The second half of this marriage, Kid Rock, may have similar feelings, but Pamela has opened up about the marriage more than he has. Their marriage is famously known because it happened suddenly on a huge yacht in St. Tropez back in 2006. Their first engagement was called off in 2003, and then 3 years later, they got married in July on a boat. The yacht party was a huge success, but their marriage was not. It was actually very short-lived. Pamela filed for divorce in November of 2006, and it was finalized in 2007. Back in 2018, she spoke candidly about their past marriage during an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. She admitted that she never spoke to him again after their split. For her, it was kind of like an out of sight, out of mind thing. Let's pretend it never happened. She does admit the wedding shouldn't have happened, but does not slam him personally for anything. Rumors actually went around saying that the Borat movie was the cause of their divorce because Pamela had a cameo in it and apparently Kid Rock was mad. However, those two did shut those rumors down quickly. So if you see that on the web, it's not true. Moving on to number 9, we have Renee Zellweger. Maybe it's just me, but I'm always surprised when I read about her marriage to Kenny Chesney because it seems so random to me. Like, I always forget that they were married. They first met back in January of 2005 at NBC's Concert of Hope Tsunami Telethon. Reports say Renee told Jay Leno that there weren't any sparks between the two of them that night, but they still exchanged phone numbers. Sparks must have grown between them because they dated shortly after, and only a few months after dating, they got married. Their wedding was on May 9th, 2005 in the US Virgin Islands, where they invited 45 close friends and family members. Although it was a beautiful wedding, their marriage did not last long and came to an end just 4 months later in September. Renee filed for an annulment and cited fraud as the reason. That statement spread like wildfire and everyone was throwing shade at Kenny Chesney. But Renee came to his rescue saying, I quote, "Fraud is simply language and is not a reflection of Kenny's character." I feel like she should have clarified that, like, in the beginning, or maybe just filed for, like, irreconcilable differences or something like that. Like, why file for fraud? In spot number 8, we have Nikki Hilton and Todd Andrew Meester. Another marriage that you might have forgotten ever happened. Nikki was young and in love when they got married, but she is the first to agree that the marriage never should have happened in the first place. They were actually in Vegas when they made the impulsive decision to tie the knot, but their marriage only lasted 85 days. They got married in August 2004, and in November 2004, it was announced that a Las Vegas judge granted them an annulment. One of the couple's representatives released a statement saying both parties have ended the marriage amicably and they remain good friends. Nikki was only 21 years old at the time and Todd was 33, but they did remain on good terms until they eventually moved on and just met other people. So let's just pretend it never happened. In spot number 7, we have Amelia Warner. Out of anyone on this list, she probably has the least amount of regret, only because her marriage to Colin Farrell may not actually have been legally binding. Amelia was only 19 years old at the time when she married Colin during a ceremony on a Tahiti beach. It was back in 2002 that their unexpected marriage happened. But one thing that wasn't so surprising was the fact that it did not last very long. No offense to them. Just 4 months after they tied the knot, they called it off. But Amelia has always talked about it and demands that the wedding was not actually real, despite some people not believing her. During an interview in 2011, she said, "We didn't actually get married. It's not actually true. I think we've been too polite to deny it. We had a ceremony on a beach in Tahiti that was by no means legal and we knew it wasn't. It was just a thing we did on holiday. We booked them on the activities desk at the hotel." Regardless of the marriage or not marriage, she said it was still heartbreaking when the relationship ended. What a weird thing to do on vacation. Let's go get married. Next up at number 6, we have Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman. We're not totally sure who regrets it more, but their wedding has been remembered as one of the most strange and sudden circumstances in Hollywood gossip history. The two of them got married in Las Vegas on November 14th, 1998, after what people described as an all-night bender. Well, that is the ingredient to a successful marriage. An all-night bender. Only 9 days later, Dennis filed for an annulment and claimed that he was deeply intoxicated at the time and was not in the right state of mind to make that decision. For a brief period of time, it seemed like they had reconciled and tried to work things out. They were seen together in public in early 1999, but by March of that year, they had filed for divorce, which resulted in their marriage only lasting less than 6 months. After the divorce, they moved on to other relationships. Yeah, don't get married drunk. Don't do it. Halfway through our list, number 5 is Jeremy Renner and Sonny Pacheco. You may not have known that the actor was even married because they got married quietly just over a year ago. But less than a year after they quietly tied the knot, his then wife filed for divorce and cited the reasoning as fraud. But she actually meant fraud. They were married for 10 months and things got messy very quickly. In the court papers, Sonny demanded that he return her passport, which she claims was stolen, as well as her birth certificate and her social security card. She cites irreconcilable differences as the reason for the split and says their prenuptial agreement should be violated because it is based on fraud. On top of that, she's also asking for physical custody of their daughter Ava, as well as spousal support, use of their Range Rover, and for Jeremy to pay for her moving expenses and her rent. Her court documents have a lot to say, but the actor has remained quiet since their split. That is one messy split. Sliding into number 4, we have Elizabeth Moss. We only know that she feels sour about her marriage to Fred because she called it traumatic, awful, and horrible. All words you never really want to hear when describing a relationship. The Handmaid's Tale actress got married to Fred in October 2009, but they ended their relationship just 8 months later in the summer of 2010. The two of them met when she was a guest on Saturday Night Live, where Fred had worked at the time. The divorce was filed for irreconcilable differences, but Fred later on admitted that he had been a terrible husband. Those were actually his words, not mine. During a 2012 interview, she spoke about him and said, "One of the greatest things I heard someone say about him is he's so great at doing impersonations. But the greatest impersonation he does is that of a normal person." To me, that sums it up. It wasn't the first time she actually spoke about her horrible experience being married to him. However, he has always taken responsibility for that. In our third spot is Pamela Anderson and Rick Solomon. I am sorry, Pam, you are on this list twice because you've had a handful of marriages and divorces. I'm sorry. However, this one has a happier ending. Yay! The two of them have actually been married a couple of times. They got married back in 2007, but it was annulled just 1 year later in 2008. Then they got married again a decade later in 2014, but divorced just a year later in 2015. So to say that they have had a rocky relationship would be an understatement. But in recent years, he began telling media outlets that he wanted to get married to her again. And they did. That is right, this past December of 2020, they said "I do" for a 3rd time in Las Vegas. The marriage wasn't very conventional as it took place during an hour-and-a-half break she had between her magic shows. It was a very quick and small ceremony. When asked why they got married once again, sources close to them say they really are in love and have remained friends for the last 15 years, despite their first 2 marriages not working out. Snapping our number 2 spot is Nicolas Cage and Lisa Marie Presley. Some people might argue that Lisa was the one who had more regret because she actually ended an engagement to someone else when she met Nicolas at a party. Whoa. She was engaged to John Ozakia in 2000, but ended their engagement to be with the actor. Their relationship moved very quickly, and she was engaged once again, but to Nicholas, not too long after calling off her previous engagement. They were officially married on August 10th, 2002, but Nick filed for divorce on November 25th, 2002, just a few months after. So maybe he has more regret if he was the one who filed for divorce. When asked about the divorce at the time, he said they should have never been married in the first place. twice. So that says a lot. I think they both have regrets. In our number 1 spot is Cher and Greg Allman. Their marriage is one that went down in history, and although there may have been some regrets at the time, Cher will always have a place for him in her heart. The two of them got married back in 1975, but separated just over a week later. They ended up getting back together and tried to work on the relationship, but when they were on the verge of an official divorce, she found out that she was actually pregnant with their son Elijah. Their marriage eventually did come to an end, and Cher revealed that his heroin and alcohol addiction was just too much for her to handle. She admitted that when she called him to say the relationship was over, he actually couldn't understand what she was saying. She said, I quote, "He was so high he didn't even understand me." Sadly, Greg passed away in 2017, but Cher tweeted out her condolences.